What's up, guys? It's Gardog back at it again. You already know what time it is. I'm going to explain today why this Suns team is the best Suns team we've ever seen from a talent standpoint. So, this year, this team went 64-18. The teams that have won 60 games in the Suns' history are this team from this season, the 62-20 Suns in 04-05, and that's when Nash won his MVP, averaging 15.5 points and 11.5 assists, basically getting 50, 40, 90 splits, shot about 88% from the free throw line, so just missed on that 90. And 92-93, when Charles Barkley won the MVP, he had 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he ended up going against the buzzsaw in the Chicago Bulls, where Michael Jordan in those finals had 41 points, 8.5 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and shot 51% from the field and 40% from three. So really nobody could have beat that team unless maybe you had the 2017 Warriors. And the 61-21 Suns, who were just off Nash's 2 MVPs. This is in 06-07, where again, he averaged 18.6 points and 11.6 rebounds and almost went 50, 40, 90. Again, just short on those free throws, shooting at about 88% from the free throw line. As a little bit of a preface for today's video, I was talking with my friend about the Suns, and he had mentioned how the Suns had 4 top 40 players. I thought about it for a quick second, and I realized, wow, that's true. And I'm going to dive into some of these stats and really show why the Suns do have 4 top 40 players. Now, the guy I want to start with is Devin Booker. Over the last 5 seasons, so since he was 21, he's averaged a little bit over 25 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 47% from the field, 36 from 3, on about 6.4 attempts per game, and he's made 3 All-Star teams. I think this year, considering some of the injuries with some of the top guards, he should probably be All-NBA first or second team, up there with guys like Ja, Luka, and Steph. Now, the next guy I want to discuss is the point guard himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Never Goes Out of Style, Chris Paul. CP3 is already a top 5 point guard of all time. I don't think that's very debatable at this point. He's been on the all-defensive team a multitude of times, became second in the MVP running to Kobe in about the 07-08 season. And just recently, he went 14 from 14 from the field in a closeout game back at home where it all started in New Orleans in a Game 6 to get the job done. And this is when Devin Booker had just come back, and he was a little bit hobbled, didn't quite look like the Book we all know and love. And, Chris Paul just went off. And something I think really shows how good this team is Chris Paul's usage rate this season. He had a 19.7% usage rate. This is the lowest of his career, the lowest he's ever had. And he had 10.8 assists this season. Just to give context of how good Chris Paul and his Suns team has been, I'm going to show other guys who are top 5 to top 10 playmakers in the league. Nikola Jokic had a 31.8% usage rate this year and had 7.9 assists per game, coming off the greatest PER of all time and was an MVP just last year. Arguably, the GOAT LeBron James had a 32.3% usage rate and 6.2 assists per game. The man who led the league in total points and total assists this year, Trae Young, had 34.4% usage rate and 9.7 assists per game. And potentially a top 5 player, Luka Doncic, had a 37.3% usage rate and 8.7 assists per game. Now, all these players have different levels of teams. Some are not very good teams in the case of LeBron James this year. Obviously a failed super team, if you will. Other teams are a little better. Some are playing level teams. Some are decent playoff teams. But Chris Paul had great teammates and had a great usage rate. Again, the lowest of his career. And it really showed why he's one of the best playmakers ever in NBA history this year. The third player of the pseudo-big three, the first overall pick in 2018, DeAndre Ayton. He's averaged 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 63% from the field, which was a career high this season. And for his career, he's averaged 16 points, 10.5 rebounds, and just under 60% from the field. Now, in the first round this year, he was pretty special. He had a 70% field goal percentage, and he shot 20.5 points per game and had 9.8 rebounds per game. just to show that, again, he is a top 40 player. He also played very well last year in the playoffs, was extremely efficient, and could be a real bruiser. He's another guy who you can't really attack on the switch because his lane movement and agility makes him fast enough that he can occasionally keep up with guards, still give them trouble out on the perimeter. And he's not a guy you can really downsize for because he'll just beat you again on the board. So he's really shown why he's one of the best players in the league this year, a top 40 guy, and why the Suns need to pay him. Don't pull Colangelo. Please pay this man. Mikal Bridges, the glue guy, the one who puts this all together. This year he averaged 14.2 points, 4.2 rebounds, and was second in Defensive Player of the Year. And on the season, he shot 53% from the field and 37 from 3 on 3.8 attempts per game. In Game 5 with no Devin Booker, he really proved why he's that glue guy. He stepped up tremendously, shot 4 for 4 from 3, 70% from the field, had 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 blocks. And this was in 47 minutes, almost played every minute of the 48 minutes that are possible. And on top of this, only took 5 dribbles the whole game. Lastly, we're going to talk about some of the other guys for the Suns, some key role players who really helped them get it done on both sides of the ball. First guy, Jay Crowder. Love him or hate him, for his career he's averaged about 10 points, 4 rebounds, around 42% from the field, and about 35% from 3. You know, your quintessential 3-and-D guy in the modern NBA. He's just an irritant, plays pretty elite defense. He's been on some really good Celtics team, a pretty decent Jazz team over the years. He was on the Cavs at one point, got traded to that Jazz team, and he's been to the finals in back-to-back years. He hasn't won it, so I know he's hungry for a championship. He's not always the best player on the floor, obviously. Doesn't always hit his threes, but when he's hitting them, you can't count him out, and he makes them a really good team also. You got Landry Shamet, averages basically 9 points per game for his career on 39% from 3. A streaky shooter at times, but once he gets hot, he can kind of take over portions of a game. Just like another guy, Cam Johnson, 10 points per game and 39% from 3 on 5.5 attempts per game. A guy who can really take over. Both have a shot creation ability. You know, can make a little more than just 3-point shots. Sometimes they drive to the rim. Sometimes they can kick out. Do a little bit of everything for you at times, but, you know, are really high-level role players. Cameron Payne, a guy who I want to shout out just because he had an NBA revival. And in the bubble, during the midst of a media debacle, when the Suns went 8-0 and, you know, everybody was going crazy about this, he shot 48% from the field and 52% from 3 and had about 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. I think he can be streaky at times. He's a guy I'd probably consider a top 5 backup point guard in the league today. Just a really solid player overall. You know, he hasn't had the best series. Him, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder have been struggling off and on throughout these playoffs. They've had some decently bad games, but once they get going, if they give you 10 to 15 points on any given night, just 2 of them, that's pretty much the end for any other team. And last but not least, the man who used to be a meme, big shout out to him when we talk about career revivals, JaVale McGee. He's a 3-time champion, 2.5 times if you want to discount the bubble, and I think he really knows where to be at all times. He's really efficient from the field, and I think everything about him just screams, you know, a guy who's going to come after it, who's really going to send back shots every now and then, and is going to be a solid rim protector. For the series so far, he's averaging 8 points, 4 rebounds, and 68 from the field, and that was just against the Pelicans. So far, he's really provided a good spark for them. The last thing I want to hit on that I think is extremely important just to describe how good the Suns team is, they've shot 50% or higher for every game they've played, all 8 games so far, and they're shooting a little over 53% from the field, all in total. These are their team stats for all 8 games. And in the fourth quarter, they're shooting a little over 60% from the field. I think that's just insane. We've seen Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges. We've seen other guys take over the fourth quarter. Devin Booker, namely, has taken over some fourth quarters. So, again, the Suns are just a really dangerous team. They've got it from 1 to 9. They've got an 8 to 9 man rotation that they can really rely on. And I think they should be the favorites this year because they truly do have four guys who are top 40 in the NBA right now.